here I have a book summary, Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramhansa Yogananda. Okay, so here Autobiography of a Yogi, here first published in 1946, is a spiritual classic that has influenced millions around the world, right? Here authored by Paramhansa Yogananda. This autobiography here narrative not only, recounts the journey of an extraordinary spiritual seekers, but also serves as an insight guide to the philosophy and the science of yoga, the unity of world religions, and the path of self-realizations. The book blends here personal experiences and mysticism, spiritual teachings, right, and historical accounts into a compelling and transformative read. Okay, so here early life and spiritual longing. Okay, so the book here opens with Yogananda's early life in Gorakhpur, India as Mukundlal Ghosh, right? From a young age, he actually exhibited deep spiritual inclination, often here experiencing supernatural events and visions. He was deeply influenced by story of saints and mystics, and his early life was marked by longing to seek God and find a true guru. Okay, his mother's death and other family event shaped by understanding of impermanence. His persistent desire to meet realized yogis and saints led him to many spiritual figures across India. Second point is meeting the guru here, Swami Shri Yukteswar. A turning point of Yogananda's life came when he met Swami Shri Yukteswar. His spiritual guru. The bond between guru and discipline is central to the yogic path, and Yogananda beautifully illustrates the discipline, love, and spiritual powers of his master. Shri Yukteswar was not only a teacher of Kriya Yoga, right, but also a profound intellectual and astrologer. Okay, so under Shri Yukteswar's guidance here, Yogananda underwent rigorous spiritual training. Okay, so learned the principle of Kriya Yoga, right, and began the realize of a deeper truths of the self and the universe, right? So spiritual here pilgrimage and mystical experiences. Throughout the book here, Yogananda narrates his, encounters with the remarkable saints, sages, and avatars, right? So these include here, okay, here Bhaduri Mahasya, the levitating saint, Master Mahasaya, a discipline of Sri Ramakrishnan. Okay. Ramakrishna, okay. Therese, Newman, that we call the Catholic mystic in German. Babaji, the deathless, Himalayan yogi and legacy figure of Kriya Yoga. So each of these, encounters adds their depth to Yogananda's understanding of divine reality, showcasing the universality of spiritual experiences across cultures and religions, right? So here, the author also recounts their extraordinary, events such as miraculous healings, right, astral travel, and prophecies and communication with divine beings, demonstrating the vast potential of the human spirits when aligned with divine consciousness. Okay, so you're founding the school and spiritual mission, right? So Yogananda founded a school for boys in Ranchi, right, in 1917. Okay, so here integrating modern education with spiritual training, right? His vision was to create a historic system that nurtured both intellectual and soulful, right? Okay, so in 1920 here he received an inner calling and an invitation to speak at the International Congress of Religious Liberals in Boston. Right, so this marked the beginning of his mission in the West, right? So journey to the West and spread of yoga. One of the most groundbreaking aspects of Autobiography of a Yogi is Yogananda's role in introducing here Indian spirituality to the Western world, right? He arrived in the United States in 1920s, right? And here founded the Self-Realization Fellowship, that we call SRF, to disseminated the teachings of Kriya Yoga and universal truths, okay, found in all religions. So here Yogananda's lecture in America drew thousands. and he gained a large following among spiritual seekers, scholars, and even celebrities, right? Okay, he emphasized the compatibility of science and spirituality, and sought here to demonstrate that self-realization is a universal path, not limited by dogma or culture. So your next point is Kriya Yoga, right? Kriya Yoga, that we call the spiritual science. A central teaching in the book is Kriya Yoga, right? An advanced pranayam technique that we call pranayam technique, that here accelerates spiritual growth by purifying the nervous system and increasing the inner awareness. Okay, Yogananda describes it as the airplane route to God, that we call the airplane route to God, a technique handed down by a line of realized masters, including here Lahiri Mahasya, Sri Yukteswar and Babaji. So Kriya Yoga is presented not merely as a practice but as a sacred science that enables directly communion with the divine beyond here ritualistic religion and intellectual speculation, right? So here next point is conversations with the great souls and Western mystics. Yogananda details his meetings with figures like Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, Annie Besant, right? And here Western philosophers creating a bridge between Eastern mysticisms and Western thought. His interaction with Luther Burbank, okay, the American botanist, is especially memorable. He even dedicated the book to him as saint. So through this encounters, Yogananda explores the essential unity of truth found in diverse traditions, emphasizing inner experiences over outer form, right? Next point is philosophical and scientific insights. Okay, so your autobiography is rich in philosophical discourse, right? Okay, so it touches upon topics such as the nature of soul, the illusion that we call Maya, right? Brahm jisko kehte hain. Okay, so illusion here, Maya, of the material world, the harmony between science and spirituality. Okay, the reality of reincarnation and karma, the presence of divine order in all aspects of life. Yogananda's explanation are both poetic and logical, right, appealing to seekers of both heart and mind. The final chapter and legacy is here. The conclusion chapters reflect Yogananda's sense of mission here. His return to India and his experience with saints and family. He shares visions of the afterlife and insights into cosmic consciousness, right? His parting message is one of universal love and spiritual discipline and direct personal experience of God, right? Okay, so Yogananda passed away in 1952. Right, in 1952 he passed away, but his teachings continue through the self-realizations, fellowship, and millions of inspired readers worldwide, right? So the conclusion of the point is here: impact and timeless wisdom. Autobiography of a Yogi is more than a life story. It is a spiritual, scripture for the modern age. It continues to inspire readers, to seek their higher self, practice discipline, and realize the divine potential within. Okay, so yeah, through his honest reflections, mystical experiences, and universal message here, Paramhansa Yogananda made ancient yogic wisdom accessible to all. This book is a spiritual journey in itself, inviting the readers to move beyond belief into direct realization, from curiosity into transformation, right? So here I will start to review a masterpiece of spiritual literature, a timeless treasure that has touched the hearts and mind of readers around the world. So Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramhansa Yogananda is far more than a memoir that we call it. It is a profound spiritual odyssey that bridges the mystical East and the modern West, right? Since its publications in 1946 here, the book has stood the test, right, of time, becoming a cornerstone for spiritual seekers, yogis, scientists, philosophers, and even global leaders, right? So what makes it a masterpiece is not just its literacy grace, but its capacity to awaken something within the soul of the readers. Why it's worth reading? Deep spirit inside here. The book offers rare access to the inner working of yogic life in India and the powerful transformative practices of Kriya Yoga. It does not just preach, it show through lives experience how self-realization and communion with the divine are achievable. Universal appeal here, Yoganand's message here, transcends religion, culture and philosophical boundaries. Whether you are Christian, Hindu, agnostic or spiritual explorer, you will find universal truths that resonate deeply. Okay, next point is inspirational encounters here. From meeting stages, who can defy physical law of dialogues with global thinkers like Mahatma Gandhi, Luther Burbank, right? Okay, so here the book is filled with extraordinary peoples and divine experiences that challenge conventional understanding of reality. So here written this poetic clarity, Yoganand's style, Yoganand's writing style is elegant, compassionate and richly descriptive. He blends humors, humility and cosmic wisdom in a way that makes a profound truth both digestible and inspiring. A book that challenges you. Many readers describe this book not just a reader but as a spiritual experience in itself. It invites your introspective, awakens dormant faith and often becomes a lifelong companion for inner growth, right? So legacy and endorsement here, even icons like Steve Jobs find deep inspirations in this book. Job reread in every year, right, and gifted it to many. It has been translated into multiple languages and remains one of the most widely read spiritual classical globally, right? So here final verdict is here. Autobiography of a Yogi is soul stirring masterpiece that transcends time and culture. Whether you are on a spiritual path or simply curious about the power of consciousness, this book offers wisdom, wonder and a deep sense of inner connection, right? So here the next point is what makes Autobiography of a Yogi so special. This is an unusual, unique book. Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramhansa Yogananda talks about miracles, the yogi teaching and the teaching of Jesus Christ, in a modern way, a way that is easy to understand and even entertaining, right? So here a spiritual bridge between East and West. What sets Autobiography of a Yogi apart is its rare ability to harmonize the ancient wisdom of the East with the spiritual depth of the West. So Paramhansa Yogananda does not just share Indian yogic philosophies. He also delves into the teaching of Jesus Christ, right? Okay, so interpreting them through the lens of yoga and inner realization. This approach offers here readers from all backgrounds and universal spirituals framework, showing how true existence and they exist across all faiths and paths, not confined to a single religion. Miracles that feel real, not mythical. Okay, so here Yoganand shares true stories of saints who defy physical laws here. Physical law is here levitation by locating, telepathy, healing and communion with dive beings, right? But what's here remarkable is that this story don't feel like a fantasy or superstition, right? He presents them such sincerity, clarity and humility that readers are not just fascinated, they are invited to believe that extraordinary is possible through spiritual evolution. These miracles are not for spectacle, they are proof of higher consciousness and what the human soul can attain, right? So yogic teachings made practical and relatable. Unlike dense spiritual text filled with abstractions, this book breaks down complex yogic concepts like Kriya Yoga, karma, meditation and cosmic consciousness in a way that is simple, vivid and accessible even to beginners, right? Yoganand's use personal stories, humor, emotional depth and real life experiences to make spiritual ideas come alive. Readers are not here overwhelmed, they feel guided and inspired. Modern language with her timeless wisdom. So through written in the mid-20th century, the language and tone of the book feel remarkably modern. So Yoganand blends philosophy, science, psychology and storytelling in a way that engages engages the intellect and touches the heart, right? His style is entertaining, poetic and compassionate. So it is a rare spiritual book that makes you smile, cry, ponder deeply and feel personally uplifted, all in one chapter, right? A spiritual adventure, not just a biography. When it is called an autobiography, the book reads more like a mystic adventure. It's a journey filled with the sands, sacred places here, metaphysics, truths, divine visions, and heartfelt discoveries. The reader is not just watching Yoganand's life unfold. They feel as they are walking beside him, on the path on the path to the infinite. So timeless, relevance here. In today's chaotic materials driven world, Autobiography of a Yogi serves as a beacon of light and inner calm. It teaches that real success lies not in possessions, possessions or fame, right, but in discovering the eternal soul within. That message is more relevant now than ever before. So